What's happening, guys? Welcome to actually the first episode of the weekly reel. I used to call this show the Focus Media Talk Show, but and I used to host it with someone else, but now I'm just me talking to the camera. And I just want to talk to you guys today about why I chose the Sony A6300 over the Gh5. And yes, it does sound like a crazy decision, but I think there's some logic behind it. So this will not be a review or a comparison, but it's just gonna be me sharing my process of making this decision, and hopefully that can help you on choosing the right camera. So with that out of the way, let's just get started. So let me give you a little bit of context. So I was ready to go shoot a wedding, and my Gh5 had a problem, so I had to send it in for repair, and the repair took longer than what I was expecting. So I went online and I found a really good deal on the Gh5, and I bought it, and it was supposed to get here 3 days before the wedding, and they delayed the shipping actually for like 2 weeks. So crap, I was not gonna be able to get the camera on time. So what I ended up doing was asking my buddy Joe, and he came through and he let me borrow exactly the same camera. So this is my Sony, but he let me borrow a Sony A6300, and I ended up shooting one wedding and one commercial with it. And oh boy, I was surprised. And I was really glad I had a chance to use this camera. So I came with a few reasons why I ended up choosing the Sony over the Panasonic, and I want to share them with you. So the first one is size. So this camera, as you guys can see, it's so small. Like, look at this. This is with the kit lens, and holy crap, this is tiny, right? And now this is so tiny, but at the same time, it's such a powerful camera. It has 120 frames per second. It has 4K. It comes with a actually pretty nice kit lens, and you can actually put a microphone and put really nice lenses on it and get an amazing footage. So with the Gh5, it's actually bigger than my G85. So with this camera, I cannot just only go shoot weddings, commercials, do a lot of things that will make me money, but I can actually take it for pleasure and just take pictures or go vlogging because of how small it is. Now, if I would have gotten the Gh5, I wouldn't have that option. And in fact, this camera will be replacing my Canon G7X, which I'm selling on eBay, because this one is just slightly bigger, but the quality is a lot better. All right, so now let's talk about reason number 2 why I chose this camera, and it's the autofocus. Now, I am not like reliant on autofocus all the time, and with my G85, which has decent autofocus, I mean, I'm using it right now, and if you guys can see, it tracks okay. Now it's not working. There we go. It tracks okay, and I learned how to use it. But with the Sony, the autofocus is freaking fantastic. I mean, compared to this, it's amazing. And I knew that with the Gh5, I wasn't gonna get that performance of autofocus, even though it's not a big deal for me because I know how to manual focus. I know how to use the focus from Panasonic. The fact that this autofocus was so reliable, I was kind of blown away. So I ended up buying it because this is my gimbal camera. So on weddings, I put this on a gimbal, and with my G85, I was getting around 90% of my shots in focus. With this one, on the 2 weddings I've shot so far, I can tell you that I got at least 99% of the shots in focus, which is pretty crazy. And when you're shooting, especially weddings or events, you know that there's no repeats, there's no do-overs. You either got the shot or you didn't. And the fact that you can rely on the camera to help you focus, it's pretty awesome. So, and I knew that I was not gonna get that with the Gh5, so I ended up doing making that decision. So reason number 3, and this is actually probably the main reason, I should have put it at first, but it's the price. Because the cheapest Gh5 that I found a refurbished Gh5 for $1,400, and that was really cheap. Right now there's a promotion for like $1,500, but the cameras fluctuate anywhere from $1,500 to $1,800. So they're expensive, and that is just the body. This camera, I got it for $800 with the kit lens, which is pretty incredible. So my thought was like, okay, I can get a Sony with the lens for half the price. You know, I'm gonna save a lot of money, and with the money that I have left, I can buy Sigma 16mm, or I can buy you know, something else. I haven't bought the lens yet, but that is a huge difference in price. Now, if you're starting out, if you want to get some clients, if you want to you know, go shoot whatever, you know what I mean, you want to vlog, you want to get clients, you want to make money, but you don't want to have you don't want to make a big investment, I recommend you buying this camera, because you can get the camera, the kit lens, and you can buy 1 or 2 more lenses, even though the Sony lenses are not as cheap as Panasonic. But with the Gh5, you know, if you're lucky, you're gonna get it for $1,500, and you know, you're gonna have less room to buy nice lenses, because it does not come with the kit lens. So that is something to think about. So number 4, and it's actually the low light performance of the camera. Now, I do believe that low light performance is overrated. On weddings, I always shoot and light my scenes. Even if I'm shooting with this camera with the Sigma 1.4, I'm lighting my scenes, because I don't care how good the ISO it is, you gotta light your scenes, because it just, high ISO performance does take a hit on the image quality. Now, with that being said, when I'm using the kit lens, for example, on my Panasonic Gh5, when I'm using the kit lens will only take me so far, because the ISO performance is not as good. But with this lens and this camera, you can bring up the ISO so high that this lens becomes a lot more powerful. It becomes a lot more useful. Even though it's only 3.5, you can work this lens in a lot of situations, and I was actually impressed by that. Especially, you know, I want to go out, vlog, or document certain situations, and a lot of the situations are at night. I might not have a light with me, and I was just blown away by how good the low light was for those kind of situations. Now, when I can't light, I will light my scenes 100% of the time, but that is something that you will not get with the Gh5 or the G85. Now, you will get it with the Gh5s, but guess what? That camera, it's $2,200, which is 3 times the price as this camera. So that's, to me, that makes a big difference. All right, so with that being said, is this camera better than the Gh5? Probably not. The Gh5 is filled with amazing features for videographers, and it's a beast of a camera. And I even compare it to my G85, and the G85 has so many things that are better than this camera. The flip out screen, the IVIS, there's just so many things, right? But this camera, it's just fantastic, and it does give a fight. And I'm actually really happy that now I own a Panasonic and a Sony, because this camera has great features, but it's also lacking other features that my Panasonic might have. And when I'm shooting a wedding, I can use both cameras' strengths to make the best video possible. So that was kind of like why I made that switch. So I'm not gonna switch from Panasonic anytime soon. I will be keeping my camera, I will be keeping my lenses, and I will be keeping my system. I actually gonna buy one more lens for the Sony. I'm gonna buy the 16mm 1.4 from Sigma, and I think that that's gonna be it. And I'm gonna have a great gimbal setup with this camera. But if you're gonna start fresh, look at these two cameras. They're both under $1,000. The G85 is $800, $900. The Sony is $800, both with kit lenses, and they are fantastic cameras. I know full frame, and I know the Sony A73 and all these cameras are the talk of the town, but you don't need full frame if you're starting out, and you might as well just buy something like this and invest some money on the glass, because that's what really makes a difference. You put this camera with the kit lens and it looks okay. This camera with the nice prime, it looks amazing. The low light is better, the image is better. So just think about that when you're buying a camera. And yeah, the Gh5 is still an amazing camera. I mean, and this is I'm not proud of this, but I unfollowed every single Gh5 Instagram account that I had, because I didn't want to look at Gh5s anymore, because I really wanted one. It was one of my dreams. But I'm happy with the decision I made by going with the Sony. So you guys let me know, what system do you use? What lenses do you recommend for Panasonic and for Sony? And I hope you guys find this video helpful. I'm planning on doing this live eventually. So the weekly reel will become a live show at some point next year. So keep an eye for that. And thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next week when we're gonna be reviewing this lens, which is incredible. All right, guys. Bye bye.